Hello world, Cossy here with an all new Geek Movie review, this time for X-Men Days of Future Past. Now for those of you who don't know, who are maybe new to this channel, the first ever video that appeared on it was a review for X-Men First Class. I'm going to pop a link up just there for a little bit so that you can go out and see that video and see a little bit how much these reviews have come on. But yeah, first ever video, click there and it's gone now. So, X-Men Days of Future Past. What did I think of it? Well, first of all, I'm just going to warn you that I'm not going to have a spoiler-free review like I usually do. I am going to go into some spoilery stuff because otherwise I can't really give this a solid review. It's an excellent X-Men movie. It takes the good from First Class, which I was a huge fan of, the good from X1 and X2, the good from the last Wolverine movie. It puts it all together in a bag, shakes it up, and you've got this great movie. Firstly, the characters. Characterization in both the future and the past, because remember this is a time travel story. We've got Wolverine travelling from the future to the past to try and stop the assassination of Bolivar Trask, who's the creator of the Sentinels, and if he does that, he will stop the destruction of not just the mutants but also the human world in the future by the horrible Nimrod Sentinels, which can develop mutant powers themselves by killing mutants and by mutants using their powers on them. So that's the crux of the story. He's sent back by Kitty Pryde, whose phasing abilities allow her to send people's consciousness back in time, and Wolverine is the only one who can go that far back without actually dying because of the sort of force it would have on his brain, on his psyche. So Wolverine's sent back. He finds the James McAvoy version of Professor X and the Nicholas Hoult version of Beast. 10 years after what happened in First Class, Professor X is a broken man. He's there to help him find himself again and to get hold of Magneto and bring the gang together to stop the assassination of Bolivar Trask, which is going to be by Mystique. So that's the basic plot line, that Wolvie's got to come back into his younger self, help the younger versions of some of these characters that we've seen in First Class, save the timeline from what happens to the older version of the characters that we're used to from X1, X2 and the terrible abortion that was Last Stand. So, good part. Casting. Again, fantastic. There's not a single member of the cast that I had a problem with at all. Characterization of each member of the X-Men was brilliant. The differences between the older and younger versions of the characters, in particular Xavier and Magneto, were perfect, and you can see the differences and you can see how their decisions have made them into the characters that we're used to. Brilliant. Very well done. The fact that the screenplay is very well executed, great way of jumping between the future dystopian Sentinel-led future and the 1970s backdrop, where, you know, coming out of the Vietnam War, and there's this sort of anti-mutant feeling from Trask, and he's trying to get that over to the government, although there hasn't been a big mutant event since the days of First Class. Very well done. Although there are some plot holes, and most of those plot holes come from the fact that this is a long series. I think it's 14 years now that they've been making X movies. I know this is meant to get rid of some of the problems that were in Wolverine Origins and Last Stand, which they do very well, but there are things that, if you're a fan of the series, you come out still asking questions like, how did that happen? Why didn't they explain that? Which is a bit of a problem, but obviously it is a long series, and we've got to give them some leeway. They're trying to do this sort of soft reboot with this and have some sort of chronology amongst what is a cluster muck in the film franchise so far. The only problem I had characterisation-wise was with Quicksilver. Now, Evan Peters does a great job as Quicksilver. I really didn't think he would going in, and I wasn't a fan of the look. But when you actually see him in action, it makes up for it, and it is meant to be a younger version of Pietro Maximoff than we see in the comic books when he was introduced. And the only problem is that his character comes off to me more like Wally West's version of the Flash, or maybe even Wally West's version of the sort of a younger Flash or an Impulse. Quite funny, comedic, doesn't take anything seriously, knows that he's got these powers. It works in the movie, but it does take away a little bit from the character if you're used to it, like I am as an X-Men fan and X-Men collector. So be aware that may be an issue for some of you, but you will want to see more, and there's not enough of Quicksilver. Hopefully they're going to expand on that in the next movie. Speaking of the next movie, there is an after the credits scene. It is very important. You do need to stay all the way through the credits to see it, and it sets up the next X-Men movie. I'm actually not going to spoil that, because if you know the title of the next movie, you'll kind of have an idea of what it might be, but it's definitely worthwhile sticking around to see it. Pretty awesome. The soundtrack and the score, brilliant. The initial score and theme has undertones of the 90s cartoon theme, and that was interesting to me. I mean, I personally would have liked them to just go with that because I'm a huge fan of it. But it did have like undertones of that theme, which is iconic, which a lot of people who have watched that from the 90s or recently when it's gone on to things like Love Film, Amazon Prime and Netflix will know that, and it's an iconic theme, as iconic I would think as the 60s Spider-Man theme, so it was good to see. The only problem mainly that I saw overall, and this was just a very minor one, was sometimes Fassbender and McAvoy's accents went a bit west, went a bit all over the place. Fassbender in particular, one scene sounds very Irish, and McAvoy in the same scene sounds very Scottish, which is unusual for both of them because they're fantastic actors, and it's only very minor in like one or two scenes. There's one scene in particular they both do it at the same time, and you saw a lot of people sort of sniggering and saying their voices went weird then. You know, that's their normal voices, guys, they're actors. But yeah, very minor. That was it. Overall, I know this has been a longer video than usual, but this is harking back to that original first ever video you guys saw and you maybe clicked out and watched. I was a huge fan. It wasn't quite perfect. It wasn't quite Avengers level perfect or the Richard Donner Superman 1 perfect, but it was very close, and I have to give this movie 4.5 stars. Go and see it. Pre-order the Blu-ray and DVD. It's already available for pre-order. Enjoy it. It's great. Okay, guys, as always, thanks for watching. Down there's the like button. Click on that. Let me know that you like this. Up there is a link to my last Geek Movie review. Pop out and watch that. And there's also a link there to my last unboxing video for last month's Loot Crate. Pop out and watch that also. And until next time, folks, au revoir.